Welcome to this week's edition of Random Podcast of Awesomeness. Tonight with us, we got Cloud, that's me. We have Shadow Wolf.
Hello?
We have Burke.
Hello.
And we have Gerdat.
What's up?
Tonight we dimension the dice with Dungeon Dice Monsters for the Gameboy Advance. We're going to be reviewing that tonight.
You really had
Very
to use
nice.
that intro, didn't you?
Yes, I did!
We rehearsed it, Gerda. We rehearsed it, damn it.
Awesome.
So,
Okay, who leads?
who leads? You
All
lead.
right.
Somebody
So,
lead.
we are talking about Dungeon Dice Monster, a game I hold very dear to my heart. And first, we will go with Gerdat, who has played this game extensively, and then we'll move on to Cloud, who has beaten this game for some reason.
Yes, for some
All right.
reason.
I'm sure at least a few of you are aware of the Dungeon Dice Monsters arc in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! It revolved around Duke Devlin being a total bastard Joey and pretty much fixing a duel so that it was guaranteed to win, and because he believed that Yugi cheated in his Duelist Kingdom duel against Pegasus.
Yes.
So the trap is laid, and they begin to play Dungeon Dice Monsters. Luigi gets trounced for the first half of the game.
Gerdat, you don't have to go through the whole goddamn episode. Just get to the point.
Just mention that Duke Devlin has his own theme song every time he talks and walks.
Almost. Anyway, this
And that
arc
Joey wears a dog
entire-
costume.
Yes.
This arc spawned on its own an entire different game published by Konami based on the
That
Yu-Gi-Oh!
failed miserably.
Yes,
yeah,
that failed
this game-
miserably.
Bomb, because well, no one actually had interest in playing it. It was just a good,
I did.
good bunch of episodes to watch.
I wanted to play it.
I think it's just too complicated to play outside of a video game. That's why I got the game in the first place. It is like the only way to play Dungeon Dice Monsters without having to go out to like friggin' Toys R Us, where they don't have it in stock anymore, and just get all the individual pieces. I don't even know how to get the pieces anymore.
Actually, I googled it. You could buy the
They were-
pieces from sites.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Now, we are playing the Game Boy Advance port, which actually follows closer to the anime version of the game rather than the English and Japanese versions. There were several different rule changes in translation, and oh my god, if you want to know the rules to the board game, go look them up yourself, because these get complicated.
And don't expect the game to teach you how to play the game, because the game assumes you know how to play the game.
It does, which
It
is
does.
Which is horrible.
which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
So remember
seriously.
to read your rule book.
Yes.
If you actually have one. You probably don't, because
Yes.
you didn't buy a physical copy of the board game.
Yes.
I mean, these days you can always just look up the rules on the internet. It's not that hard.
True, true.
But what if one of our listeners doesn't have internet?
Shadow, you want to explain gameplay?
What
Gameplay.
we has
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, gameplay. Well, it is in the game. What happens is you have to roll die in order to get certain things like a summoning crest, or attack crest, or movement crest, and the number of the die you roll depends on the level of your monster or something like that. Cloud, you
The
explain
level
this,
of your
please.
die
Well,
depends.
Burke, what is the object of the game?
To destroy your opponent's 3 hard points.
Exactly. Both players have a Dice Master that acts kind of like as a king in chess. The Dice Master has 3 hard points. Once a player loses all 3 of their hard points, they automatically lose the game. And that is one of 2 win conditions in the game. There's also the Exodia win condition, where if you summon all 5 pieces of Exodia, starting with the head, upon summoning the head, you win the game. To play the game, you build dungeon paths to your opponent's Dice Master. It's the square is like a 19 by 11 grid.
I think it's 12, actually.
19
19 by 12.
19 by 12 grid. So the Dice Masters are 17 spaces away from each other. The only way to get to the other Dice Master is to summon monsters by dimensioning the dice, like they do in the anime.
Ooh.
To die.
Yes, and each of your dungeon paths, that when you attempt to dimension die, what happens is you will get a choice of different paths you can dimension based on how a die could actually unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these paths are incredibly useless, while others are incredibly useful. All of them have strategic ups and downs, mind you. But in all seriousness, you only need to really stick with two different dimensional paths to really be good at this game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. If
Yeah.
if the computer player was better at summoning, you would probably have to think a little bit harder about exactly which dimension grids to use for your
Yes.
dice.
Yeah,
But
the AI does not seem
but
great.
as it is, this game has problems, and basic gameplay quirks like that can get thrown out the window.
Yeah. For example, it a certain. I have dropped my mic. Damn.
Fuck you, Greta. Stop
Anyway.
dropping your mic.
Anyway, certain monsters also have native abilities. These are usually family abilities, but not really. And these abilities include flying, tunneling, and some of them actually have special abilities that require crest to use. Which is why when you roll movement, attack, defense, trap, and spell crest, they actually are added to your crest pool. Did I forget any, Cloud?
It's a movement, attack, defense. Movement, attack, defense, trap, magic. I think that's it.
Yeah, those are all
So,
crests
yeah.
that when rolled will be added to your crest pool. Your crest pool actually keeps count of how many crests you have in order so that you can use them later. Now, going back on monster abilities, there are two specific non-cost abilities in this game that are incredibly powerful, at least in our opinion. First is flying. Flying is either the most busted ability in this game or the most useless, depending on how you play. Well, really, there's only one way to play, as Cloud will eventually explain. And then there's tunneling, my favorite ability, which allows you to bypass monsters at the cost of an additional movement crest. It's really cool.
Yeah, that happened to me the first time I played. It was horrible. He just jumped my monster and he tagged me, and I didn't have any movement crest, so I was helpless.
To do any action in this game with well, first of all, you have to have at least one creature on the board to win, because creatures are the means of taking heart points away from your opponent's Dice Master. In order to use your creature, you need movement crests to move them, you need attack crests to attack with them, and you need defense crests to defend against an enemy monster's attack, because monsters can also attack each other in this game.
Yes.
You roll the crests. The crests that you roll are essentially misrolls when you're not trying to summon with the dice, but we'll get into that.
Yes.
Right.
Now, we've kind of tried to establish levels already. Let's retry this. Each die has a certain level. This is equivalent to the level that the monster is. The higher level that the dice is, the less chance of summoning that monster you actually have. There are 4 levels of monsters in this game. 4 levels of die, rather. 1, 2, 3, and 4. My God, that is redundant. Level one die have four summoning crests. Level 2 have 3. Level 3 have 2, and level 4 have 1. And that's why. Well, Cloud, start explaining the game.
You can only summon a monster by rolling 2 of the same level summon crests on 2 different dies. So if you want to summon a level 1 monster, you have to roll at least 2 level 1 dice and land 2 summon crests. Then you can initiate the summon. Any other crests that get rolled, those are added to your crest pool every turn.
Right.
Also, you roll. I don't even think we mentioned you roll 3 dice every turn.
Yes, you roll 3 dice.
And these are 6-sided dice, so only 6 possible results.
As opposed to D20s and such.
As opposed to D20s, exactly.
Could you imagine playing this game with D20s?
That would be retarded.
Yes,
It'd be
retarded.
ridiculous.
It'd be awesome.
There's no consistency whatsoever.
All right, Cloud, you want to start explaining the broken crap?
Well, going back to monster abilities, people who are familiar with Magic the Gathering know how flying works. A monster with flying cannot be attacked by a creature that doesn't have flying. Or it can only be attacked by creatures that have a special ability that allows them to attack flying creatures.
This ability is usually called Archer.
Archer, right. So that's it for gameplay rules. Next up, we're going to get into how the gameplay actually works.
Pause the video and go get a drink.
Pause the video. What? Shut up, Gerda. Don't throw me off my train of thought. The way I play the game by spamming level 1 dice, because that is like the only way to summon monsters efficiently in this game.
It really is.
The odds will usually be against you. You'll usually misroll, which is why level 1 dice is best for summoning monsters, because you have a 4 in 6 chance of landing a level 1 summon crest. You build your dungeon path to your opponent, and what usually happens is your opponent can't keep up with the rate that you're summoning at, because they're usually summoning like level 2 or level 3 dice.
Unless of course they're low on the roster. The sheer amount of playable opponents in this game is immense. It seriously is. There are, I want to say, 50 plus duelists that you can fight in this game. I want to say that, but I don't know how accurate that is. It's probably closer to 40.
Probably
Still,
40.
It's really bad how many playable characters, how many playable opponents there are, especially when you read some of these names. If you guys have read the manga, you would know that there was an arc that focused on a character called Kane and his gang. They went so far for the character roster as to put Kane's minions in this game. There are 5 Kane minions, and they are all named K minion A, B, C, D, or E. They don't even have names. They're just called Kane.
So that can be a bit jarring. That can be a bit jarring on the player's enjoyment of the game.
Yugi's mom is a playable opponent.
Yeah, I actually fought her. That was pretty awesome.
Other characters from the manga
From his
are
class.
Zompire, who is based on Zombra the Dark, and Jeremy Harrison, who is supposedly one of the original names for the little American chick's grandfather, I think.
Yeah, the one with the teddy bear.
Rebecca's father.
Yes, Rebecca's
Hawkins.
father.
Yeah, Professor Hawkins. That was
Dr.
it.
Hill Hawkins, yeah.
Dr. Hawkins.
Dr. Hawkins.
The sheer amount of playable opponents.
And the thing is, they all have different names, but they all really pretty much play the same.
No, that's not true. Each opponent does, in fact, have a varied dice pool. The
That's
problem is, there's like 5 different types of opponents in this game.
what do you mean?
There are the opponents that will spam level 1s like you try to do and build up a defense. There are opponents that will spam level 2s, such as Joey Wheeler, and attempt to actually take you down relatively quickly. There are opponents that will spam level 3 and 4s and fail miserably at it. There are opponents who will spam items and fail miserably at it. And then there are opponents who will just do all of the above and usually fail miserably at it.
It's the opponents that fail at summoning very consistently that kind of makes me scratch my head in confusion sometimes. Like, is this for real? Like, is this guy like really incapable of playing?
You know what I love? I got a twin-headed behemoth at his die master. I attacked him once. He's always like, okay, I'll bring my guy over there and attack you. And I only have 2 hearts, so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get one more attack in, then he's going to kill me. I attack again. He has 1 heart left. He rolls, he summons, and then he ends his move. He ends his turn. And I'm like, wait, what?
Well, probably because he didn't have any attack crests left.
Oh, no, he did. He had attack crest. He
What?
just didn't attack. So I'm like, okay, I guess I win.
AI in this game is technically...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The AI is stupid beyond belief.
It's so bad.
Terribly scripted AI.
Yeah.
And it's scripted, and I can prove it.
Not all of it is scripted.
Not all of it, but
There's no
most
way
of it is.
There is no way the duel with Yami Yugi is scripted, because that guy sucks.
Yes, you can fight Yami Yugi in this game, and you know how in the other games he's actually a real big challenge because he actually has a relatively good deck. Well, relatively good dice pool in this game is not what he has. He has a bunch of spammy level 3 and 4 monsters that he can't even summon.
Like, instead of making it so that the opponents have an increased summon rate or rate of actually rolling high-level dice, or even just scripting events, making it so that they have to roll certain things at the start of the duel, they have to obey the same rules as the player, which is, and if the player is playing a perfect game and the opponent is making mistakes like rolling different level dice, which significantly cuts your chances of summoning, you're gonna have an easy time with the game.
Yeah.
It's
That doesn't mean it'll be over quickly, because these matches usually take between 10 and 30 minutes.
yeah, mine usually take about 10 minutes.
And it's probably just the fact that you actually have to set up the board to be able to even get to their life points, hard
I
points.
think it takes like 4 summons to connect to the other person's dungeon path, depending on how well they're doing.
I think I can
Yeah.
do it in 3 if I really work at it, but it's usually around 4.
I'm thinking in terms of the last tournament that you have to go to. I think the only way that they increase the difficulty of the game is by creating obstacles in the dungeon path, in the dungeon grid that you have to play on, and you're not allowed.
The rule of the obstacles is you cannot have a dungeon path adjacent to an obstacle.
Exactly. So, the way I have to do it, because of the positions of the obstacles, it takes me about 4 to 5 summons to get to my opponent's dungeon and/or Dice Master.
And Cloud, have you noticed? I read part of a review that said like during the end of the game, they actually stack the obstacles against the player.
Sort of. No, I don't. I never got the feeling that the obstacles were being used against me, because I knew for a fact that my opponent had to follow the same dungeon path that I was using. So it's really no skin off my nose where they put the obstacles, because the opponent's going to have just as much trouble.
Right.
Unless, yeah, what's the worst they could do? They can't put obstacles all around my Dice Master so I can't summon, because then my opponent can't beat me.
The worst they could do is probably make the opponent competent.
Actually, what they could theoretically do, Cloud, is put an obstacle on every other square, which therefore makes it so, well, not every other square, but once every 2 squares. No, they couldn't even do that. The worst that they could do is once every 3 squares. And even then, that technically gives you an opening for your own summons.
So anyway, with ass-retarded AI, the obstacle system is really the only way they can ramp up the difficulty on the game, by actually making you have to use different dungeon pass strategies, because for your first, 20 games or so, you're probably going to be using the same dungeon path over and over again to get to your opponent. And
I
then,
personally fight 3S3N, but...
And then when they throw the obstacles in, you actually have to think a little bit. You know, it kind of throws you off your game.
Kind of. Mind you, I was only able to tolerate this game long enough to beat the first division, so I don't know how bad it actually gets, but I believe you when you say it gets somewhat challenging with the obstacle system.
No, the obstacle system, it's not that challenging.
Okay.
But then again, this is coming from somebody who the only reason why the obstacle system isn't that much of a problem is because of the AI and the actual difficulty of defeating an opponent in this game. The way I work it, I can usually make it so that I can completely restrict my opponent from summoning by surrounding his Dice Master with my dungeon path, because in this game you're not allowed to overlap dungeon paths.
Nope.
Yeah.
Which is pretty derpy.
I've been able to do it at least five to 10 times in my entire playthrough of the game, and it was pretty lolsy. In fact, we actually got a screenshot of Gerdat doing that. That's probably going to be the backdrop for this video.
I don't think I was able to totally restrict his summons, but I know that I was able to surround him with my monsters, and that was lolsy.
Triple
lolsy.
clown zombie action.
Total herp derp.
Yes.
Going back to problems with the AI, I did not get the sense that the creators of this game knew how to play that well. I really didn't.
They could have done a whole lot better.
It's like they had because of the canon characters, they actually had to tailor a dice pool to what that player would use, without regard to how well the dice pool would do in a duel. That's why
I think Yukimoto, I think normal Yugi is an exception because he actually has some very level ones. Like Snake Hair and Zombie Warrior.
Yugimoto and Joey Wheeler, those are like the only two real challenges in the game because they're the only ones that seem to be able to consistently summon monsters.
The sad part is Joey Wheeler actually does follow his canon strategy. He's got Flame Swordsman, he's got Red Eyes Black Dragon, he's got Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon. We think he's got Meteor Black and Black Skull, but we're not yet.
Actually, I don't think Black Skull Dragon is in the game.
He's in here.
Oh. Because the reason why these guys are challenging is because when your opponent can summon monsters and you can't be so invasive with your dungeon path, you actually have to do battle with his creatures, which is where you need extra attack crests and defense crests.
Right.
Lots of times, though, if you can outsummon your opponent and restrict their summoning, you don't even have to use defense crests. There's a lot of stuff in this game that you just do not have to use in order to win, and a lot of it is accessible at the beginning of the game.
For example, items in this game, unless you're rolling for crests, are totally useless. There are a few traps in the game that when your opponent uses them, they're actually kind of brutal, but if you try to use them, no, you ain't using them right. The only real one that I could debate you could use right would be Time Machine, and that can easily be worked around.
Yeah, it's just I've never summoned an item in my entire playthrough of the game, and I've already beaten Yami Yugi several times.
You can basically just go through this game battling without doing much of anything else almost.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Also, spell and trap crests. Unless you seriously want to try and use these, they're totally useless. A majority of the monster abilities that do use spell and trap crests are not that powerful to begin with, and they are ridiculously easy to get. One of my favorite monsters, Clown Zombie, one of his misrolls is a trap crest times 4. So yeah, I always end up at the end of the game with anywhere between 20 and 30 trap crests that I can't use because I don't actually have any monsters that use trap crests.
The apparent surplus of trap crests that can be experienced like that, or any crests for that matter, could be combated if they actually included a significant amount of monsters that had abilities. But as the dice pool is right now, the majority of the monsters in this game do not have abilities.
Yeah, none of my monsters when I first played had any.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad, too, because a few of these monsters should have abilities.
They should.
Yes.
For example, Karibo.
Like...
Karibo, you should be able to sacrifice a defense crest to make it so that or rather, a defense crest or several defense crests to make it so that Karibo sacrifices himself, but you don't lose a heart point.
Yes. Or Penguin Soldier should be able to bounce to your opponent's 3 heart points. But he doesn't.
No, that's just
Although
silly.
Penguin Soldier, I think a more accurate depiction of Penguin Soldier's in-game ability would be swapping positions with your opponent's monster. Although
Yeah, I was going to say something like that.
Swapping.
And that would be like 10 trap crests or something.
I'd say the only really scary ability in this game is Relinquished. He's terrifying. Because Relinquish is a level 1 monster that you can sacrifice him and spend 10 magic crests to take control of one monster your opponent controls. And I've never seen it used in battle, but I'm going to guess that he's going to take control of the monster that's closest to your Dice Master, and if you don't have any other creatures near him or movement crest, you're screwed.
Yeah, especially how Cloud and I play the game.
Yeah, the way me and Gerdat play the game now, we spam the crap out of level 1s and flying monsters. We use flying monsters to defend our Dice Master.
We use a flying monster.
We use a flying monster. Because of the no attacking flying, no groundlings can attack flying rule, since most of the monsters in this game are groundlings, flying monsters are an insurmountable defense for your Dice Master.
Right.
If your opponent is incapable of summoning a flying monster or a monster that has Archer, it's either a stalemate or your win, because they can't win. And it's really sad when that happens. You just have to make it so that they can't build an alternate dice path, dungeon path.
And you can do that on the first summon.
You can do that.
It's really easy to make sure that your opponent can't actually get to you with the first summon.
It takes 2 summons to...
It technically takes 2 summons, but it's easy enough to do on the first one, to where you don't really have to look out that much.
I'm usually summoning so fast that I can just block off my opponent before he can even get to my side of the board. So that's not even an issue. But I go snake. My first move. Roll 2 snake hairs and an energy disc. Energy disc misrolls can give you either 3 or 4 movement crest. Snake, and you got to roll at least 2 months.
1 or a 2?
What?
Is energy disc a 1 or a 2?
It's a 1.
Awesome.
Which means that if I roll a summon crest with the energy disc, that's another chance to me to summon a snake hair, which has flying in this game for some reason.
Yes, that's very weird.
So for some reason.
Snake hair is busted. 1, it has flying, making it a very powerful defense. 2, it increases the defense of all zombie monsters by 10 points.
And it's a level 1.
And it's a level 1. There are other monsters that are like this. For example, Parrot Dragon is technically busted, because it's also flying, level 1, and boosts all dragons by 10 points. By the way, there are families in this game, and there is a pro and con system to the families.
Yeah.
We don't really know how it works yet, though.
That pissed me off the first time I found out that there was a pro and con system in this game. Because I was wondering, like, why the hell am I getting negatives on my attacks, and why is he doing like double damage to my monsters? You know. So,
yeah.
But once you got the hang of it, you found out that paper beats rock, and rock beats book, and book beats Gameboy Advance. You could start to use it to your advantage too.
Yeah, it's a triangular system, and you can use it to your advantage with a varied enough dice. But another problem with this game is that you don't need a varied dice. I went through the entire first division, and Cloud pretty much did this before I did. But right off the bat of the game, after I finally started to learn how to play, I said this. I went out and bought myself 8 clown zombies. Literally, more than half of my dice pool is clown zombies. So, yeah, I was able to beat the entire division with just clown zombie.
It's true. Level 1 monsters are the way to go in this game. They are busted.
Especially when there's over 100 monsters to choose from, and like level 1s are so accessible. Then it kind of shows how broken they are.
Yeah, I agree, because Clown Zombie, those go for like $25.
I think is it 30? I think it's 30. No, it's 25.
I think it's 25. Where Gerdat uses Clown Zombies, I use Beaver Warriors. I prefer Beaver Warriors over Clown Zombies because the misroll crests on Beaver Warriors are movement and attack crests, which are basically the only 2 crests I ever need to use to win. Those are the only crests you need to use to win the game. Those are the basic ones. The extra ones are the defense, magic, and trap crests. You don't have to use those if A, you don't have monsters with abilities, or B, you can outsummon your opponent so you don't have to do battle with his monsters.
Right. Now, there are definitely plus sides to this game. For as much as I'm bashing on it, well, I'm not really bashing on it yet, but seriously, I dislike this game a hell of a lot. I really do. But I do find myself enjoying it if I actually play it for a long period of time.
I think you started having fun after you figured out how to win.
Yeah, I was so much of a noob at this game. I needed Cloud's help in order to get myself through here.
Yeah, true story.
It is a little repetitive because you're doing the same thing pretty much throughout the whole game. But
that's the problem with the card battle genre, which this game is technically part of the card battle genre.
Right.
It gets very, very repetitive.
what I would like to try out, this game actually does have a link cable support. So
Yeah.
for people that would like to try it 2-player, I think it would be more fun because you don't have to worry about the stupid AI.
AI.
Yeah, but then you will. But if Cloud and I were to duel, and we both opened up with our best move, one of us would eventually have to forfeit, because the way that we play and we open up with our best move, we would literally stalemate because we're only running one flying monster
No,
each.
no. I would still beat you. I run 2 snake hairs, and I run 2 battle warriors who both have archer. So you would lose, good sir.
Oh, damn.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
There, yes. Cloud, he wins at dice games.
Yes.
Actually, another dick move that the computer players can use in this game is summon Millennium Shield right in front of their Dice Master.
Oh god.
Yeah. Millennium Shield. It's a level 3 monster, so it's hard to bring out, but it is one of the few monsters in game that has 40 defense. The
Oh
reason it's a
Jesus
dick-
Christ.
The reason it's a dick move, though, is that the computer can't screw it up. Millennium Shield has the ability that it can't move. It's seriously an ability in this game, folks. It can't move.
It's a shield though, so I guess it
makes
makes sense.
for it not to be able to move, mind you. But what about Cocoon of Evolution? That has 40 defense and can move.
Well, because cocoons grow legs.
The reason why I think Millennium Shield is even worse, is an even worse defense than flying monsters in its own way, because
It's like, I know that I can get through that, but I can't get through that.
when creatures do battle in this game, if a creature, one creature has to attack another by using an attack crest. The defending monster has the option to either take the attack and take damage to their health points, or use a defense crest and have that the attacking monster's attack points subtracted from the defending monster's defense points. However, if the defending monster has 40, defense points, and you're attacking with a monster that maybe has like 10 or 20, the difference between the attack and defense points gets subtracted from the attacking monster's stamina. Which is really bad, because because if your opponent runs Millennium Shield and Defense Crest, you can't even take your time and just drain their Defense Crest. You will lose monsters, and that is unacceptable in this game.
Wait. So if you actually attack it with something that has 10 or 20 attack, does it still subtract from the Millennium Piece's defense or no?
Millennium Shield doesn't take any damage.
So you basically have to wait until you can summon something bigger.
You have to bring out pretty much either Blue Eyes Ultimate or Gate Guardian or one of the monsters that has more than 40 attack points. Sadly, these are very few and far between.
Now, could you get through it with tunneling?
No, not if he's right in front of the Dice Master.
Yeah, if he's right in front of him, like Jeremy Harrison does, also known as Professor Hawkins, you can't get through that. And it's annoying because it's the strategy I use.
So the way you can combat Millennium Shield, you could try to drain your opponent's defense crest, because your opponent can't use Millennium Shield properly if he has 0 defense crests. Because he's not allowed.
Although this is true, I haven't actually tried attacking him when he hasn't had any defense crests to see if I would do damage.
That's because you're a noob at this game.
No, that's because I haven't had the opportunity to try this. Also, I'm scared of his Millennium Shield.
The other way to beat Millennium Shield is to build an alternate dice path to the Dice Master, which I have done several times.
Same.
If your opponent fails at summoning and you still have a lot of level 1s to roll, you can, because of the varied ways that you can dimension the dice in the game, you can get a pretty perfect setup and get an alternate path to the Dice Master, and that's where you're going to own him, because usually by building an alternate dice path, your opponent's monsters are so strewn out all over the board and so far away they can't even reach you, because your opponents almost never roll movement crests, and
Herp derp AI.
Yeah, you could just herp derp them.
This is when they get out 3 Millennium Shields.
I don't think I've seen somebody summon more than one.
Hey, I showed you, Cloud, that Jeremy brought out 3 Millennium Shields on me. I couldn't.
So how did that turn out, Gerdat?
Oh, I started ramming my clown zombies into his Millennium Shield. He started using Defense Crest, and then my clown zombies started falling apart.
Yeah, that's
It was sad.
that's another part of the game that we have to bring up is that
Graphics?
you're only allowed to summon 10 times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
That is definitely a downer, but it guarantees that you'll always have dice in order to actually gain additional crests.
so if you run out of monsters to summon and your and your opponent has like Millennium Shield, you can't get through them. You basically lost the game because you can't get it as heart points.
Right.
And you could also, well, I should say there are two conditions for summoning. You can summon if you haven't summoned 10 times already, and if you actually have room to dimension the dice.
Yes, you have to actually have open spaces equivalent to 6 in order to actually, dimension die. It's how you're supposed to derp out your opponent, actually, because if you can make it so that all around his Dice Master there's only 5 available spots, you win.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy thing to do, especially on the non. I'd say the non-canon characters are where this problem is rampant, where the opponent fails at summoning so hard that not only do I reach their Dice Master, but I block them off on all sides, so they're incapable of summoning.
Right.
It's really embarrassing. I think for the game, it's not good. It's like a.
I'm pretty sure this game has no pride in what it does.
Right.
Only shame.
I mean, this is like the only console version of Dungeon Dice Monsters like ever. So,
It is, in fact. It is the
and
only version
it will be
of
the
Dungeon
last.
Dice Monsters.
first and
And it will be the last.
No, I don't think Dungeon Dice Monsters is coming back.
Nope.
Not anytime soon.
Folks, put away your Dungeon Dice boards. It's going to be a very lonely ride.
Yeah. Another thing that we need to address, however, is the economy system in this game.
Oh, Jesus.
After winning a tournament, you receive a certain amount of prize money for winning that tournament. It starts off at 150, goes up to 200, goes up to 250, goes up to 300, then 400 and 500,
Etc., etc.
Etc.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then it expands by I think 100 or 200 per game. After that, I'm not entirely sure how much it expands afterwards because I only was able to beat up to the first division. Anyway, after winning a tournament, you also have a chance of unlocking new monsters at Grandpa's shop. I'm not entirely sure if it's a guaranteed unlock or not, because it didn't look that way when I was playing. Cloud says it kind of is.
I think every time you win a tournament, there are a couple dice that get added to Grandpa's shop inventory.
Oh, Grandpa's
Now,
shop.
I don't think they unlock in a specific way. I think, although I think they do unlock in a certain order, but you'd have to play this game multiple times in order to find that out. And God,
Right.
God be with you if you actually had to do that.
Yes.
This game is bad. We
Yes,
praise it a lot for
game is-
because it's an
game is
accurate
terrible.
depiction of Dungeon Dice Monsters. We praise it for this.
Also, the
That's
music.
about it,
Let's discuss the music,
Yeah,
guys.
the music. Okay, there are
Oh,
there are
there are
three
other things in economy that I want.
there are three music tracks in this game while dueling. There's generic, friendly track A, which plays whenever you're playing in a round, except for the final round of a tournament. There's final round music B, which plays whenever you're playing in the final round of a tournament, and there's Dice Master Danger music, which always plays when one player's Dice Master has only one heart point left. I mean, not just because I was conserving battery power for my Game Boy Advance, because I actually played this on the original Game Boy Advance for this. The music is just the fact that you have to
Terrible.
listen to it over and over again. It's the same.
It's terrible.
crap.
It's terrible.
These
It's
tracks
terrible.
Are like between
It's a
1
far cry.
These tracks are between 30 seconds and a minute long. So yeah, they're not Nobu Amatsu, people.
No,
Yes.
no, no, no. I
Yeah,
don't.
it's a far cry from the John Williams music we had on this podcast a few weeks ago.
Well, I disagree that the music tracks themselves were problematic. I think the real problem was the lack of variety.
Yeah.
No, they're terrible. They're annoying. They're terrible. They're just annoying. They're just a bleep bloop bleep 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 bloop bloop bloop
All right,
bloop for a fucking minute and a
what's
half.
what's the
They
worst?
add nothing to the game.
What's the worst
Yes.
video game music you've ever heard?
It's hard.
Just
I'd actually have to say, of all the video games I've played, this one it probably has some of the most annoying music I've heard.
really. Dang.
There's one on the tip of
There
my
are
tongue.
worse out there. We just can't think of them at the moment. This is on purpose, Cloud. Don't make us think of these.
Actually, I thought that Tales of Vesperia, that was a 360, I played a demo, and I really, really hated the battle theme for that game. It was fucking annoying.
All right, so, Joel, that's just to show that there actually is bad video game music out there, because I usually like the video game music. It's just
Yeah, then there's also terrible video games that have actually decent music, like Superman 64. The music's not that bad.
The gameplay
I mean, just
itself,
the-
absolutely horrendous.
yeah,
horrible.
We
The
all,
battle theme for that game is actually pretty cool.
if you've never heard of Superman 64, look it up. Look up a Let's Play
No,
of it.
don't look it up.
No,
Maybe
you don't-
And
even
just get
have
ready
to.
to laugh, because it's one of the
Yes.
worst games ever made.
It is.
That's beside the
can I-
point,
can I-
however.
Can I go back to the economy system
Yes,
now?
you can go back to the economy
Yes.
Go-
system.
go
I
ahead.
give you my permission.
All right. Now, Cloud was able to experiment with this. I didn't bother. But every time you win a tournament, there is actually a slight increase in the amount of cash that the tournament gives you. Emphasis on slight.
Yes.
Cloud beat the last tournament of the game, and he went back to it because it was the one that gave out the most cash. When he did this, he got an extra 50 gold. The original prize money, 1,500. Oh my God, that is horrible.
It's
But
just
the reason why this is horrible is because Grandpa's shop rips you off so hard. A majority of the monsters in the game you'll never use because you'll never actually unlock them through free dueling, and that's almost the only way to do this. The prices in this shop are freaking insane. The most expensive item in the shop, what wasn't it like 48,000?
40. I think it's 49,800 gold.
And that's for that's for the black hole item, creator.
So
which
if
is
I
all-
if I wanted to buy that, I would have to beat the last tournament of the game like 15 times in a row.
yeah.
And because of repetitive gameplay, bad AI, this does not a good game make.
Yeah, and that's
Not
to
at
buy
all.
one item. Each piece of Exodia costs 30,000 gold, and that's not even including the head. Those are just the limbs. So to get the full set of Exodia costs over 120,000. Okay, you better hope to unlock this by fighting a Seeker, isn't it? Seeker's the guy with Exodia.
Yeah,
pieces?
but even then, just the drop rate is just so horrendous. There's no guarantee whatsoever that you'll get the pieces that you want.
Right. Also, the sellback rates for these dice are ridiculously random.
They're arbitrary, is what they are.
Yeah. For example, the Exodia pieces, Cloud actually, picked one up, I think,
Yes, it did.
and he tried to sell it. It was worth 2 gold.
Where if you try to buy it from the shop, it's 30,000 gold from the shop, which
Cent make?
which is like 0.005% return rate.
Yeah. Whereas other dice like Penguin Soldier cost 30 and you can sell them back for 15, That makes sense.
Yeah, I think the game would have been it definitely would have been an improvement to the game if say you weren't too happy with the prize money you were getting for tournaments. If you get valuable dice that you could sell, you can actually make a lot of money on some of the dice in this game. I think Thousand Dragon goes for 5,500.
Yeah. And to buy them is like 75, right?
Yeah, 75, 78.
Yeah. So, yeah, the economy system in this game is broken and wonky, okay?
But well, I wouldn't say. Yeah, it sucks if you're trying to complete the dice pool. God help you if you actually tried to complete the dice pool in this game.
And if you succeed, you're not human. Leave our planet.
Yes.
Yes,
If
do
you
not
succeed
try
in completing the
100%.
dice pool without a cheat, I will personally subscribe to you and worship you every hour of the day. Just for one day, though. I
Gerda,
have
it probably
no life.
has been done.
I know it has been done, but
If
I
there's
want
a
to
video,
meet the person that did this,
if
so I
there's a
can call them
video
an
game
idiot.
and there's something you can do in that video game, then somebody in the world has done it. That is a fact.
I know, but I want to meet these people so I can call them idiots after worshiping them for 24 hours straight.
Why would you worship
Yes.
an idiot?
Hey, I'm an idiot.
Because they did something amazing. Oh God.
Well-
IGN gave this game an 8 out of 10.
Alright, guys. Sorry for the interruption. I wonder if Cloud is actually recording at the moment.
I
because
am
he said-
recording at the moment, you derp.
Yes. You just
Awesome.
rolled everything.
So yeah, sorry for the brief interruption. We're still not entirely sure how we're going to handle that, but we were talking about the graphics, if I recall correctly, and the graphics in this game they're
Terrible.
like nothing. They're pretty terrible.
Mostly forgettable. They make it an option to turn off battle animations, because when you actually do combat with creatures in this game, there's a brief battle animation where you go to like a coliseum and the creatures like attack one creature attacks the other, and then like the creature's like goes up in flames or something like that, and then when that's over, it shows you how many stamina points the monster just lost.
Except not kind of.
It's a terrible animation.
Yeah, not quite as epic as
Yeah,
Cloud.
there's like 3 frames. Seriously, 3 frames for each monster. It's
Worst
pretty bad.
animation ever.
Well, one of the animations in the game is like when you take out a heart point. Like that's pretty dramatic, right?
Yeah, that animation is actually okay, but the in combat animations are so lame and ugh. Plus, a lot of the sprites in this game look like total shit.
Well, at least they have. I gotta give them credit for at least having accurate sprites of the dice monsters in this game.
This is true. Accurate sprites are relatively hard to come by in these type of games. I mean, if you look at the Pokemon series, they at this point actually still had difficulty getting accurate sprites.
I think they've gotten pretty good with that now. You know.
Yeah.
Now it's like they're renowned for having really good sprites, but you look at their older stuff, and we're getting off topic.
No, this is perfectly
still-
relevant. We're talking about sprites in video games.
Yeah,
You have to think about at the time, this probably came out
this
not
is like
too
03,
much.
04, right?
This game came out around the same time as Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, I think.
Yeah, I was
I think
about
it's
to
supposed be
mention
Fire
that.
Red.
And the sprites in that weren't exactly the best either, though.
True. But yeah, overall, the graphics in this game they don't really do anything.
It's not just that; it's the fact that it's also kind of hard to distinguish things sometimes.
Well, what are you distinguishing? What exactly?
Like the menu system, like your actual die roll. Like I had a hard time distinguishing at first when I was first learning all the game mechanics, the die rolls, because everything was so pixelated, and I didn't really figure it out until afterwards. And when you have the little menu with a little side menu where it tells you how many of each kind of die you have.
I actually didn't have any trouble figuring that out. How about you guys?
No, I mean, coming back to the game, I figured out how to play pretty quickly. I figured out that, you know, you got the two when you're picking out your dice for a dice roll. Like, are we talking about during gameplay or like during like dice shop stuff, dice pool gameplay? Okay, when you're picking out your dice for the dice roll. It took me a little while to figure out, like, okay, I don't need to put in 2 dice in the top left corner for those 2 dice. That's just a search engine. I can just manually select the dice. So I got used to manually selecting the dice pretty quickly, and it took me a little bit to figure out, okay, so I got to roll for summon crests and so forth. Not really. No, I didn't think it was confusing at all.
I think
Same
it
here.
took a little getting used to it once you started, but once you actually got into the game, you figured out what was going on.
Relatively quickly.
Yes.
Although I think Brooke does have a point when it comes to the smaller sprites, like not necessarily the sprites but the icons, because I'm not entirely sure how to explain this the best. Like for you might get confused on say Karibo's icons, because he's got a defense crest and a times 4 attack crest, and the way that the times 4 is positioned, you might actually think that it could be directly connected to the defense crest.
Well, first of all, are we sure that that's a problem with the game or a problem with the emulation you got?
That's actually a problem with the game, because that's everywhere.
Hmm. Well,
So
overall, what would you say about the graphics? Like, good, good, not good, very bad, or very good?
not good. I wouldn't say that they're absolutely terrible, because they are good enough to actually
There's service.
identify what's going on, and they do serve the purpose of making it easy to see everything.
Yeah, they're identifiable. They're not the worst. I have seen pretty bad graphics, but they're okay.
They most certainly could be better. I mean, Forbidden Memories, which came out in like 0102, had much better graphics than this. Its excuse, of course, was it was on a far more powerful system.
That's true. That and
So
Falls
I
Down
I think
Kingdoms.
we've covered pretty much everything that we need to cover for Dungeon Dice Monsters. How about you guys?
Yeah.
I think so.
So, final word. Final word on the game.
The game will be better if it wasn't for the AI. The AI is really the crutch of this game, and because with a game like this, you need to have a serviceable AI enemy AI, and it's not.
You need challenging AI. Like they could have made it so that a lot of what the opponents do are like scripted. Like I thought, I was I even had in my head like Yami Yugi is gonna be fucking impossible because he's gonna summon like Dark Magician and Curse of Dragon in like his first couple moves because that's all he can do during his first turn. But no, the all the enemies have to follow the same rules as you. So their dice pool and their dice rolls they succumb to chance, and if it's that problem all over again. This I think the game would have been better if the AI had scripted events. You know,
Yes.
at least at first, so that way they could be a decent challenge because they need to they have to effing summon in order to do anything.
Yeah. Although enemy AI is definitely one of the big drawbacks to this game, th- there are a lot of really big drawbacks, and I gotta say the opponent pool is one of them. Granted, having a large opponent pool is really is what these type of games are about, but you could have been a lot more creative with that. Seriously, the enemy AI needs to be sharpened and improved on, and it won't because, like we said, this is the only game that tried to emulate Dungeon Dice Monsters, and it did a fairly faithful job to the anime, but not to the actual game.
This game, you know what this game makes me want? It makes me want to like go out and create my own like my own take on the game. Like same game mechanics, but it's the dice monsters that need to be improved on. It's just
Yeah, the Dice Monsters definitely do need some significant improvements, but that alone isn't going to fix this.
well, the game's already said and done. I'm talking about like for a person that wants to adapt Dungeon Dice Monsters in some way, make it their own, even.
I certainly think the game could be improved in a lot of ways. And like what you were kind of saying, Cloud, like adapting your own version, I think that'd be kind of cool because all the stuff is right there. They just didn't implement it very well.
Yeah. All in all, I'm going to give this game a 5 out of 10. Because while it is enjoyable for a little while, it's way too repetitive. The AI is way too easy to beat. The dice monsters are not, they're just not unique, and there's way too many opponents. Way too many just stock opponents.
I'll also give this game a 5 out of 10. Give it a 5 out of 10 because it's easy. It's very easy to break the game early on. The player has no incentive to complete the dice pool or even go through the tournaments over and over again. And overall, it's not challenging. And because it's not challenging, it's just not as fun.
I'll agree with that. I'll probably give it a 5 out of 10 as well because, like you guys said, it's repetitive and it's easy to break, and it just wasn't all that it could have been.
You're right.
And it could have been so much more.
Just a lot of potential.
There seriously is a lot of potential in here. Thing is, they had to devote a lot of their resources to making it like the actual board game and still playable, so like the anime.
Because the source material is not bad at all. I mean, when the Dungeon Dice Monster episodes were on TV, I thought it was very cool, and I wish that it would have had more of a, it would have actually had more of an impact when they attempted to actually make it a board game.
Right.
So it wasn't source material at all. It was just bad design choices, technical limitations with the actual game.
Yeah. So, final score, Burke?
I'll probably 5 out of 10. It's pretty average.
5s all across the board. Look at that.
Yeah.
So 20 out of 40.
Yes, 20 out of 40 on a 40 scale that nobody uses except good at.
5 times 4. Wait, No, 10 times 4. What am I talking about?
What are you talking about?
Well, it's also 5 times 4.
No, 5 times 4 is 20.
Exactly. 20 out of 40.
Oh, God. Math has come into the podcast.
I love math.
So we can now use math as a tag for YouTube.
All right. Anyway, guys, that's gonna end us off this time. Join us soon as we're going to do another podcast soon. Yes. This time it's my turn, and I think you guys might like the game that I pick out because I know I do.
Yeah. Wait, Gerda, don't even try to make it seem like if this happened the same day where we didn't even know we were playing. Actually, I'm gonna make a prediction since this is the future. I predict in the future that Gerda will pick a game, and the game he will pick will be Kirby Squeak Squad.
Dear God.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Why would I pick a game like Kirby Squeak Squad?
Yes. Why would you?
Well, stay tuned next week, folks.
Yes. Stay tuned next week for my shocking prediction to see if it comes true or not.
See you guys next time.
See you next
Be
time.
safe.
Ascare.